I am amazed at all I've been able to grow throughout the winter with just a little modification, even in my Zone 8A Arkansas garden where we get consistent freezing weather. In fact, last year I was able to grow greens all winter despite a low temperature of -1. Using what I learned in my experience last year with winter gardening, here is my plan for growing greens and more throughout the winter. Even though I will grow some crops outside, I do heavily rely on my greenhouse. And here's why. Even though the cool season crops I'm growing over the winter would survive outside, I've found that they thrive inside with the extra warmth. During the daytime, even when the high temperatures are in the 30s, if it's a sunny day, the temperature inside the greenhouse is spring-like. At night, again, even if these crops would be fine into the 20s, adding the heater raises the temperature by about 15 degrees, lessening the cold stress. Because in the spring, I use my greenhouse primarily for growing seedlings, I don't have natural growing space for winter crops. I do have an elevated container bed that I use, but I needed more space, especially if I wanted to grow more crops throughout the winter. So I started bringing my green stalks inside the greenhouse. They're easy to take apart and move into the greenhouse, and now I have an instant garden space. Let's look now at what I'm growing in here. Real quick, if you're watching this between November 27th and December 3rd, GreenStalk is having their Black Friday sale. This 5-tier basic GreenStalk, available in a variety of colors, is on sale for only $99.97. And all other products are also marked down 25% off. Plus, you get a free plant support with every purchase of a GreenStalk planter. Not only that, but you can stack my affiliate code Jill10 to get an extra $10 off your purchase of $75 or more. You can see I love growing in my GreenStalks, and I've bought them as Christmas gifts for others as well. The sale details and the linked purchase will be in the description. My top priority crop to grow is lettuce. I grow two particularly winter hardy varieties, Winter Density and Tango, and I grow them in both an elevated bed and in my green stalks. I also grow them outside. I like to start the seeds of individual lettuce plants indoors and then transplant them out. My goal this year was to get these mature before our daylight gets down to less than 10 hours, usually by the end of November, because I know they won't grow much after that, at least until January and February when the days start getting longer. Because of this, I plant more for a winter harvest than in the spring, where growth is much faster. In addition to lettuce, I like to direct sow mesclun greens, which is a lettuce greens mix, and other greens mixes like this one. These give a tasty variety and also a beautiful color blend for winter salads. The goal is baby greens here, not full-grown plants like my lettuce. In the same way, I direct sow arugula seeds. Arugula is extremely cold tolerant and will usually last all winter. The final green rounding out my salads will be spinach. I can cut baby spinach throughout the winter or let them grow to larger leaves, which generally will start when the days get longer in January and February. But while greens are my priority in my winter garden, they're not the only plant I'm growing in here. These are my fall beets. They got a slow start, so I'm not sure whether they will form roots and even if they'll last through the winter. But moving them in the heated greenhouse, I'm crossing my fingers that they will make it and give me a late winter harvest. I'm also planting onions. I tested this last fall by planting short day onions in the fall. I planted in a variety of locations. One was inside the greenhouse, one was outside under cover, and the other was outside without cover. The best onions came from my greenhouse that were planted in the GreenStalk. Because it worked so well, I'm dedicating more space to these short day onions. And of course, strawberries will overwinter in the greenhouse. They would survive outside in my Zone 8A anyway, barring any significant cold snap. But in the greenhouse, they do so much better. They even gave me berries last February with the warmth of the greenhouse. Now, if you don't have a greenhouse, what you can grow in the winter will obviously depend on your location. But if you live in a fairly mild winter area with regular freezes, but not to the extreme, you may find that using a frost cover on your GreenStalk will help extend your season and help you get started earlier in the spring. I used this a lot in the early spring last year when I brought my GreenStalks back outside. The thing I've come to love about the winter garden is that it is so little effort, but incredibly rewarding. Plus, with a limited amount of garden space to tend, it's a joy to care for. And there's nothing like fresh picked salads in the middle of the winter. Don't forget about the GreenStalk sale going on now. The link and my discount code are in the description. And if you want to hear how my winter garden survived last year when we had that -1 degree temperature, you can watch that video here.